Let's see the next topic in general science, that is classification of elements in chemistry. So before proceeding, let's see what are the important topics which are generally asked in the exam. The first one is historical facts. The second one is early classification methods. You should know the statement as well as who has given those statement. Afterwards, the very important one is the modern periodic table. Okay. Afterward, you should know the trends which are generally found on the periodic table, that you should be very known to this topic. And finally, few of the facts related to the various elements. Okay. So let's see the first question, and your time starts now. So the question says, law of triad was proposed by whom? So these are the four options, a very simple one. Let's see one by one. So first one is Newland. As you know, John Newland has given the law of octaves. Okay. And if you go with option B, Rutherford, you know that he has conducted one experiment, alpha foil experiment, where he found the nucleus as one of the core subatomic particle. Okay. Afterward, Mendeleev, you know that he has contributed a lot in the periodic table, and he is also known as one of the founder of the classical periodic table. And it is Daubernaer who has given this law of triads. So those who have given option D, they are right. And there are many other pointers that we have seen in our theory class, that this law of triad was proposed in year 1829, and it was proposed by John Daubernaer, who is basically from Germany. Why he is very popular? Because he was the first person who has attempted to classify the element. Okay. And he has used a very simple methodology, like he first arranged the elements of three, which the word itself says triad. Triads means three. So he grouped the elements into three parts. Okay. So if you see this triad, it consists of lithium, sodium and potassium. What is the specialty about this classification? That if you take the atomic mass of the middle element, it would be the average of first and last. Okay. So if you do the average of first and the last, you will get the atomic mass of the middle element. Okay. So the other triad is chlorine, bromine, iodine. Okay. So this is very important historical pointer related to law of triads. Okay. The problem with this law is that he could not able to classify all the elements which were present at that time. Okay. Let's see the next question. Which of the following triad represent Daubernaer triad? Okay. So these are the four options. So I will start the timer. A very simple one. Just now I told you it is lithium, sodium and potassium. And what the triad says, that atomic mass of first and last is, if you take the average of these elements atomic mass, you will get the atomic mass of the middle element. Okay. So those who have given option A, they are right. Quickly moving to the next question. Law of octaves says that if the chemical elements are arranged according to increasing atomic weight, those with the similar physical chemical property occur after interval of how many elements? Okay, so you should be very cautious, because the law of octaves, as you know, that the word octave means 8. Okay, so most of the people will go with option B. But if you read the statement carefully, he has used the term interval. Okay, what does the interval says? So before proceeding, let's see what exactly is the law of octave. First, you should remember it was given by the Newland, John Newland. Okay, and what he did, he arranged the element okay, based on the increasing atomic weights. Okay, so let's make some numbers: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay, so the law of active says that the atomic properties or the physical and chemical property of the eighth element will be similar to 1. Okay, and if you see the interval is how much? 1 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So there would be 7 elements will be the between these first and eighth element. Okay, he has not asked like after how many elements it will be repeated. Okay, in fact he has clearly mentioned the interval terminology. Interval means what is the difference between those two numbers. Okay, and the answer for this question would be C. And this thing we have studied in our theory class, where we have seen that this law of octaves was given by John Newland, and he classified 56 elements which existed in nature at that time, and the thorium is the last element which is in the law of octave. Okay, so as I told you, law of octave says that first you should need to arrange the element in increasing atomic mass, and every eighth element had similar property to the first element, which is basically the periodic nature. Periodic means something which repeats itself after some time. Okay, and if you see the table if you take like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 8th, and if you see first and 8th will have the similar chemical property or the physical property, but there is obviously certain limitation that cobalt and nickel were placed with the halogen, which is in fact totally wrong. And so it worked up to calcium very well, but after calcium, that is 20, it start deviating with this property. Okay, so these are the few pointers that we have seen. Let's see the next question. Again, it is related to Newland's periodic classification. The question says, which of the following resemble with 10th element in Newland's periodic classification? Okay, so since it is repeating, so let's make it 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So every interval of 7 you will have the 8th element which has similar property with the first. So 8 comes next to 1, 8 9 10. So if you see which element resemble to the 10th element, it will be third element. Okay, so those who have given option A, they are right. Third element and the 10th element in the Newland periodic classification will be having the same properties. Okay, quickly let's see the next question. In which year was Mendeleev's periodic table was published in German journal? Okay, so Mendeleev, he is basically from the Russia, and in year 1872 he has published the periodic table. Okay, so it is basically a static portion or historical fact that you need to remember, and we have seen a lot of pointers related to the timeline. Like around 1800 there were 31 elements were known, but if you go after 60 years there were 63 elements were known, and in 1869 this Dmitry Mendeleev proposed periodic tables. Okay, and this periodic table was published in year 1872, that you have to remember. Okay, although it was proposed in year 1869, but it is the year 1872 when this periodic table was published. And you know, after that these subatomic particles were come into picture, and a very important event happened in year 1913 when Henry Moseley, who has proposed the modern periodic table. Okay, and this periodic table nowadays we are using it as a modern periodic table, was established in year 1913. Okay, and at 21st century we have 180 element were known, a natural plus synthetic. Okay, according to Mendeleev periodic table, which element replace Eka aluminum. Okay, it is not like this, it is Eka aluminum. Okay, Eka aluminum is which has similar property to aluminum. So Mendeleev periodic table has a characteristic that he has left some gaps in his periodic table, and he proposed that the element which will be found in the next years will have similar property to this element. And this element Eka aluminum, it was replaced later by the gallium. Okay, so gallium was found later, and it was correctly proposed by the Mendeleev that it has similar property of the aluminum. Okay, so option B, those who have given, they are right. And we have seen various other pointer related to Mendeleev, and the first thing you should remember, he is known as father of the periodic table. Okay, not the modern one, and modern one is a different that we have already seen. It was Henry Moseley. Okay, and in year 1872 this periodic table was published, and he has arranged 1663 elements known by increasing atomic mass. And in 1955 101st synthetic element was named after him, that is Mendeleevium. Okay, so our 105th synthetic element was named as Mendeleevium. Okay, Mendeleevium. Okay, so the law says that property of the elements are periodic function of the atomic mass. So till now we were using atomic weight as one of the characteristic, but he has first suggested that this periodic nature will be the function of atomic mass. And the limitation of this periodic table was that hydrogen and this isotope of the elements were not completely defined in this table. Okay, but the good thing is that he has predicted few of the elements like Eka boron, Eka aluminum, Eka silicon, which was found later, scandium, gallium and germanium. That was a good point in fact. Okay, let's see the next question. Consider the statement and identify the correct answer. Isotope of all the elements posed a challenge to the periodic table. Yes, just now we have seen that isotopes, as you know, these are the basically the elements of the same atomic number but different mass number. So it was creating a problem from him where to put those elements. The second one, no fixed position can be given to hydrogen. Yes, we know that hydrogen is very problematic for all of the scientists, because there was no fixed position which was given to hydrogen in periodic table. So both statements are true. Okay, so those who have given option C, they are right. Let's see the next question. Which of the following statement is not correct with respect to the periodic table? Noble gases are included in group 18. Yes, it is true. There are 7 period, 18 group. Again, it is true. Elements of 2 group are alkaline earth metal. Yes, it is again true. There are 18 periods, 7 groups. No, this is completely false. There are 7 periods and 18 groups, so that's why this is incorrect. And this modern periodic table was first proposed by Henry Moseley. Okay, and he is known as father of modern periodic table. Okay, and he has used the atomic number concept, because at that time around 1913 all atomic particles were found. Okay, so he has not used the atomic number, atomic mass, he has used atomic number. And modern periodic table says that physical and chemical property of the elements are periodic function of atomic numbers. Okay, and there are 2 forms, one is long form and short form, that I'm not going to discuss, but the important one is that horizontal rows are called periods, whereas vertical columns are called groups. So all these are groups and all these are periods. Okay, let's see the next question. Name the para-uranium element with atomic number 106 which is prepared by bombardment of 081 nucleus on californium-249. A very difficult, but this is basically the NCERT based question. and if you have read NCERT, then you can easily answer this question. It is seaborgium. Okay, seaborgium is a para-uranium element, which is basically named after Seaborg scientist. Okay, and there are many other important facts about few of the elements, that there are total 118 elements and natural occurring are 94. First element is hydrogen and the last elements is organocin, and first man-made is techneticum. Okay, mendelevium is the 105th element, and 106th element is seaborgium. Okay, the other you can see that in the universe hydrogen is the vast element, and if you found the earth, it is oxygen. Okay, and there are other few pointers that we have seen, that lightest and heaviest and all such thing we have covered in our theory classes. Okay, let's see the last question for today's session. With the increase in atomic number in period, what does happen? Metallic character increases? No, false. Okay, chemical reactivity decreases? Again, it is wrong. Metallic characteristic decreases? Yes, it is true. When like atomic number are increasing, metallic characters will decrease. And we have seen the table. This is the table. So if you see the metallic characteristic, okay, so metallic characteristic decreases as you go down to the atomic numbers. Okay, and non-metallic character increases in the direction, and ionization energy, electron affinity, atomic radius, all such things we have seen in the trends in the modern periodic table.